Welcome, everybody. We appreciate you coming here today to our first meeting of the year for the Heber Light and Power Board. Today is Wednesday, January 24th at 4 p.m. We have all of our board members here today. We have our Charleston Mayor, Heber City. We have our Wasatch County Council Representative, Kendall Crittenden, our City Council member, Wayne Hardman, and I am Heber City Mayor, Kelly Potter. We have Heber City Council member, Jeff Smith, and Midway Mayor, Celeste Johnson. And we appreciate all of our staff members who work so hard to get all of this information together. We have a big agenda tonight, but our Midway Mayor has to leave because there's a council meeting. So I'm going to take the lead from staff on how far, once we start running out of time, what has to happen today, because she needs to be here and hear what's going on and get all the background. We put this transmission line update at the top of the agenda. Today is not a public hearing, so we will not have the opportunity to hear from all of you, although we would love to, and hopefully at some point we will. But before we start on this agenda item, I'd like to ask by raise of hands, so we can just get a sense, so the board understands why everyone is here. How many of you are here to express opposition or concern about the power lines? Please raise your hand. Okay. And how many of you are here to show support for those power lines? After that, it probably wouldn't be very comfortable. Anyway, I just wanted the board to get a sense of this, since we don't have the opportunity to hear from everyone today. But we are very sensitive to what's happening, and hopefully you'll understand that as a new board, we're trying to wrap our brain around what has already happened, what's possible to happen, and how we can best balance all of these competing needs that we have in our community right now. So with that, we will start our meeting today with item number 1. We'll have an update on the line, on this transmission line from Jason Norlen.
Okay. So where we're at on it is Harold will do an update on construction out on Highway 40, and then from the Highway 40 segment, staff calls the 120 line over to the Point Interconnect substation in Midway. We've been to Wasatch County Planning Commission, and we've also been to Heber City Board of Adjustment. And so now we're at the point where
can you go to the microphone, the podium? They can't hear all the way in the back right now.
They can't hear anything.
Is that mic not working? They can't hear you. They can't hear. Is it not on?
is that better?
Maybe talk louder and closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Don't be so shy, kid.
Okay.
If you've got an empty chair by you, would you raise your hand? Are there any chairs?
So we've been to the Wasatch County Planning Commission. They made a motion, and what they would like to see is a few items. I'll just read the motion to you, so it's on record. Commissioner Hendricks made a motion to continue item 8, the application for conditioning use by Rocky Mountain Power and Heber Light and Power, to invite them to address as many of the concerns as they can. Those include intent of the Wasatch County Mission, how they are addressing the CUP items, routing, is the line adequate for both the current and future, rough cost of overhead and burying, and plans for involving other jurisdictions, if there are other entities involved in this area, and addressing the questions of easement and right-of-way to be scheduled for the February meeting. So, because of the lateness of this board meeting and Heber Light and Power staff needing some direction on how to go forth with this motion, we have asked for a continuance and a working session in the February with the Planning Commission because the engineering study to address the overhead to underground costs, I really felt like I needed to bring to this board
bid is progressing at a rapid pace at this point. They're putting the bases of the existing, or of the new poles in place at this time, while continuing to keep service to all of our customers out there. At this time, I think they have almost all of the bases set, and then they will proceed with setting the tops, and then, of course, stringing wire and so forth and so on, and racking out the existing ones. They're still looking, you know, we're looking mid to end of March is my best judgment at this point for finish. I would bet end of March, and then complete cleanup won't happen probably till April, May, once everything dries a little bit, and we can go back through and visit with all the property owners and make sure they're satisfied with our construction and the things that we've done out there. But once again, we've got a great contractor that we're working with the owners out there and doing the best we can to meet the needs of them.
Okay. Are you?
Yeah. You want to talk about the engineering study a little bit?
That'd be great.
So, just real quickly, this is Heber Light Power's. Let me put it up on the big screen.
This is survey dog.
Okay. So this is our current 46 kV configuration. Most people have seen this map many times. And this is the proposed section. So the Highway 40 section is completed, or in the process of being completed, with our 46 kV attached to the structures. So the next thing we really need direction on is, if we're going to study underground, then what is a realistic study of underground? We put in this dotted line on the map to kind of show configurations that, you know, at least to begin the discussion of what we could include in the engineering analysis of what those costs would be to take the line underground. Doing underground throughout the big, around the bypass, might not be the, you know, a realistic type number, because the shorter we go with the underground, the less the cost will be. So, you know, we proposed a more direct route into the point of interconnect there at 735 West, roughly. And so, what I would really think that staff maybe a setup of
Your mic is out.
Is that better? Form the facilities committee, and once the facilities committee, once the facility committee of this board is formed, pull in the planning departments of those entities that are affected, and come up with a good siting plan for the engineer to study, so that they're not just studying a whole bunch of things. I think they're going to need direction as to exactly what route we would like to study and what sections of the line we would like to study. It's staff's opinion that the section from the end of 650 south and crossing the river through the sewer plant and through the fish hatchery area there, you know, that's really going to drive up costs and inflate the difference number between overhead and underground. So if we were to keep that section overhead, you know, a more realistic number for the communities could come back in. I don't know what those costs would end up being, but there's a good chance you're looking at boring instead of actual trenching through some of those areas. So,
Would they be able to break it down based on smaller increments? Like instead of saying, well, here's the whole number, we could say, well, if you do this section, this section, this section.
yeah, and that's what we would like to have them do, so that, you know, this body and other bodies can look at it and say, you know, this section may be feasible, but this section really pushes the price way out of bounds.
What are the reasons why we would just take the most direct underground route, if we were looking at underground and do the study there? What are the compelling reasons for that?
Lack of information at this time. That's why I'd like to, you know, get the planning departments involved in as far as siting underground. I mean, we involved them in siting the overhead, you know, putting the line on the map, so that, you know, we can begin this process. But we haven't done that with an underground siting yet. But when we drew the overhead line on the map, that involved all planning departments and the facilities committee of this board.
All right, are there anything else on the board? I mean, this is so big, I don't know where we even begin. I know there's a lot of questions, even stepping back from the whole idea of burying the lines is, do we really have to have the lines? Do we, you know, maybe just, can you give us a few minutes on how we got here? Like, why are we doing this? Tell us about what we have, what we need, how this is.
Just go into need and
Yeah,
necessity.
just to help us, educate us all.
Sure. So Heber Light and Power began working with Rocky Mountain Power back in 2008, 2009 timeframe. We were having some voltage fluctuation issues. I started working with Rocky Mountain Power on that. Some of those issues got solved through some equipment that they installed and operated a little bit differently between peak seasons. You know, you got different peak seasons. You got the winter peak season when there's snow being made and a lot of heat load, and then you've got the summer season when there's a lot of air conditioning load. And so, you know, balancing the system and making sure voltages are correct, you know, takes some well-planned and well-timed coordination. So we did the coordination fixes, and you know, that got us through to about 2011. And in 2011, staff at that time studying our issues on the 46 kV side, and also the growth of the community. You know, the growth has been pretty good, pretty solid for about 20 years now. You know, when I started working here, we were peaking at 10 megawatts, and, you know, last year we peaked at 40 megawatts. So, you know, in just a 20-year time period, we've, you know, multiplied by 4, and we're seeing, you know, conservative numbers of 2 to 3% growth, but peak, depending on temperatures, has grown as high as 6%. So that demand is really what's the driver on this. So in 2011, with the board's direction, I sent a letter to Rocky Mountain Power asking for a second point of interconnect. At that time, I was told that we...
Maybe explain what that means.
Okay, currently our system is fed off of a 138 kV line that comes up Provo Canyon. And it interconnects to the Heber Light and Power system at just there by the Midway Cemetery at our Midway point of delivery. And that point of delivery is becoming outgrown, meaning Heber Light and Power's point of delivery is becoming outgrown. That point of delivery has capacity for 49 megawatts, and like I said, our current load on peak is 40 megawatts. So, you know, we fully plan on surpassing the capacity of that interconnect point for Heber Light and Power System in the 2021-2022 timeframe. Real driver for us is getting that second point of delivery, which we have planned behind the Ray Farrell natural gas plant, where that gas plant interconnection point is, and bring a point of interconnect in from the north there and loop the system basically so that we can feed Heber Light and Power from either the north or the south. And it's important to note that Heber Light and Power has all of its own resources, meaning all of its own energy out there, but we are a transmission customer of Rocky Mountain Powers, meaning we pay them to wheel Colorado River Storage Project power to us, and that's how the system works. They are the transmission supplier for the whole state of Utah, so all of the wheeling agreements are with them.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
Can you explain where the line's coming from? It's coming down from Evanston, and I've heard
Yes.
that it's to do with Park City, that we're supplying Park City. Can you clear that up?
Sure. Yeah, Rocky Mountain Power's line, you know, they've got, you know, a line that is new, that is coming from Evanston into Croydon, around Colville, up in the Browns Canyon to Silver Creek, and then it comes out of Silver Creek substation there at the Park City exit right there, and they have a 138 line that comes down and feeds their Jordanelle substation at the base of the Jordanelle Dam that feeds all of their distribution load in North Wasatch County. So, you know, they have a lot of county customers as well, besides just us as a transmission customer.
So you're not going to build a new substation for Park City on this project?
No, this is a Heber Light and Power point of delivery, and Heber Light and Power requested this. So,
but how does it benefit them? Clearly, they wouldn't pay 80% if they weren't benefiting. So how does it benefit Rocky Mountain Power?
it does loop their system.
So it makes a connection. So
It makes a connection. There is a connection there, and then they have a loop section for their Jordanelle substation and their North Wasatch County customers as well.
Jason, don't
Yeah.
they have a big substation up there by the Midway Cemetery that they are looking to enlarge almost 4 times? Isn't that what?
Yeah, they are doing some improvements to that delivery point as well, but some of that is based upon our requests. So,
I mean, there's a lot of questions. We've seen a lot of these concerns that have come through, you know, social media, and everyone's been participating in this discussion. I mean, clearly there are some studies that need to be done, as you know, was directed by the Planning Commission as well. But we're looking at kind of rehashing some questions here that have been coming up a lot, and it seems to me we can cut to the chase tonight and just say we've got to get some of these studies in place before we really can act on anything. Otherwise, we're just sort of rehashing the same old questions and concerns. So I mean, we're looking at a feasibility study, you know, an underground study, a study for maybe the health impacts of a line this powerful. How much of this power really needs to come through our valley? How much can loop around our valley? I mean, there's some information we need to get. Otherwise, we're just rehashing. And my question would be, can we, you know, hang on and get those studies before we continue?
clearly, we're to that point in the process, for sure, and
So I'm stating the obvious.
that's the next step.
Definitely, okay, and I appreciate that you guys are nodding, and you know, if you agree with that
Mhm.
point. I did check with our attorney who read the contract between Heber Light and Power and Rocky Mountain, and there doesn't seem to be any breach of contract if we hold on this for a little bit and do these studies. So based on his legal advice, we're totally in the clear to do this before we really, I mean, we've got a lot of people who are really interested in what's happening, and you know, we can all hypothesize and play armchair quarterback on this, or we can get some studies.
For sure, yeah. I mean, this is the process. We need the energy. We're a growing community, and you know, the math's good on this as far as what the energy needs are for the community, as well as the reliability concerns. But now we're to the point where, you know, we've drawn a line on a map, and you know, and the commissions and the governing boards need to give us direction of what more information they need to make these critical decisions, for sure. And that's just where we're at.
So do we need to authorize funding to do these studies? Like what number?
Yeah,
Do we know how much it will
so really, I need a facilities committee from this board to work with.
cost? All right.
So that facilities committee can work with staff and get the studies done that this board wants for this next phase of the project, and also start working with the planning commissions on where we want to study underground lines. I think what's important for this board is we can't study everything. We need to focus down, and you know, this is what makes the most sense for each, you know, body that's impacted by this, and let's study what's real and not, you know, something that doesn't make sense. So
Yeah, and we know what we have to study for the planning commission.
yes, and
So we have to do those.
we know what that direction is, yes, and so we need to get, you know, we need to get that study on board and define exactly what we want that study to produce. And then if the facilities committee wants some other studies done, we need to get them done for this body. So
I think it's important to remember that this body is simply representation of our community, right? So it's not that we're saying you can't proceed unless we give you approval. We're saying our community has asked for this approval and this understanding and this level of information. And as elected officials, I think it's imperative that we do that.
yeah, this body is the representation for all of our ratepayers.
Right. Right. And one of the things I had talked to Jason Boothby and some of the community, I think it would be helpful if we had some kind of a community advisory board or a group, because it's really hard to hear from all of you. But if we can get a group of people that are representing all of you as the community that can interface with the board, we can't have a public hearing every time we meet. I mean, it's just not possible. But what we can do is get some people who are, you know, interested and experienced to kind of help funnel some of those comments to the board. So we hear from you, we're able to communicate back and forth and not have misinformation go in either direction, and make sure that the board is hearing what you're saying, and also that we're able to resolve some of the things. Because sometimes I hear differing things from different places, but we want to make sure the board has accurate information. The staff, you know, they're willing to do whatever we ask, but we've got to be clear because we only have a limited number of staff and they're trying to keep our power going. So we'll make sure that we can focus in on where the information that is most wanted to be able to help everyone understand the decision that's being made as we move forward. I was going to ask one question. This is kind of stepping back as well. I don't know if the board, I mean, probably this previous board have discussed this. What if Rocky Mountain Power had said, no, sorry, no deal, we can't do that? Where would we be what kind of lines would we be looking at? I mean, what would that be like? What if we didn't have a deal with Rocky Mountain Power?
Well, our South 46 kV line, so the red line from the Midway sub into the gas plant is currently at a point where we need to rebuild it. So Heber Light and Power would be rebuilding that. And then if we wanted a second point of interconnection at 46 kV, not going to 138 kV, we would have to probably build a 46 kV line over to Silver Creek.
So we'd have more smaller lines, we wouldn't have the big, tall, 110-foot poles?
We would still have taller poles. 46 kV construction would still be similar. You'd be 3 less wires. You know, you might be 10 feet shorter.
All right, so let's talk about these studies so we can make sure that this can start happening. So we already have the list of things from the planning commission.
Yeah, is this board, just real quickly, is this board comfortable with our company engineer doing the studies?
Oh,
No, I think it's, you know, for multiple.
Well,
I think we need to look
our
at-
company engineer is a third party, meaning we don't have an in-house engineer.
So is this like someone through?
It's a firm, yeah. It's Intermountain Consumer Professional Engineers. So, anyways, if the board doesn't want that, then but I do have an estimate of what just a verbal estimate until we define the exact route and the specifications of what we would want in underground. And that was $15,000 for this study. And that's from them. If we want to go with a different engineer, different firm, then I would have to get a different, I don't know that that number would hold.
Is that only to look at underground or to cover all of the issues that were brought up at the commission?
That's just to do the underground.
Has
So,
an engineering firm ever been involved in underground lines like this?
yeah,
They have, they've done this before
yeah.
for other municipalities?
Well, they have engineers, you know, they have engineers that work in other places too, like over in Nevada, Colorado,
That have done underground?
that have done underground for various reasons. And Rocky Mountain Power has a 138 kV spec, and Rocky Mountain Power may, you know, turn that over to an independent engineer as well, so that we can get that study. We have never undergrounded 46 kV, so we would need to also have our company engineer develop a specification of how we would want 46 kV underground. So it's reliable, safe, all of those things.
I apologize. I just thought, you know, obviously a lot of other companies have, right? So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can look at where other municipalities have done this sort of thing, and we can involve that information.
Yeah, like Lower Valley, I think, has come up in a few of the meetings that I've been to. Lower Valley did underground a section of 115 up by Teton Village, and I've got the engineering firms that they used for that. And I could certainly reach out to them. You know, I'd like to keep the process moving, so I mean, if this board would be okay with me reaching out to 3 firms and going with the lowest price, once the facilities committee nails down exactly what I can go out to bid for.
Did they give you a time frame on the one that was 15,000? How long it would take?
About 3 weeks. Yep.
That's really reasonable. I mean, that's not a delay, really.
And that's then again, that's the firm we use. We throw a lot of business their way, so we're probably a priority. If we went outside of that time table may change a little bit.
Well, I think we're looking at thorough and unbiased as possible. We need to make sure that there's a level of trust that we're developing with this process, and we might need to do that. You know, because I mean, I can't get some bids from 3 other outside guys, right?
Okay.
Anybody feel uncomfortable with that?
I'm okay with it.
He stated he needs more information before he goes after those bids, and that's what the facilities committee will put together, along
Yeah.
with the planning department. So we're maybe a month out on that, even to go after a bid.
Well, I think you could probably line up, you know, they're probably 3, 4, 5 weeks out themselves. So let's get an appointment with them on the books, and while we're waiting, we can facilities committee list those studies that need to happen.
Yeah, if we could get a facilities committee, meeting with the planning department next week, I think we're in a reasonable time track to meet the planning commission meeting in March, so.
That's optimistic maybe, but let's try for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we really need to look at who can perform the studies when, and what studies need to be done.
Yeah.
So the facilities committee would be made up of members of where?
This board.
This board, and what have we done, 3?
That's agenda item
Yes.
6.
Yeah, we're on the agenda for that, so, let's hold off for just a minute, and then we'll do that. Is there anything else on that we need to discuss right now, as we, give you authorization for? So that's the primary thing, we gotta get the committee, we gotta decide what we want to study, and then authorize that study and get that information.
Yeah, and I think you've given me the direction I need to go forward, and then just go with low bid when those bids come in,
Or medium bid. I'm one of those that always buys whatever the medium thing is. Low, I feel like you're missing something. High, you're paying for bells and whistles you'll never use. I don't know. What do you think? You've done this a lot. Why would you go with just strictly a low bid? Just because it's cheaper, or?
Yeah.
But do you feel like we would be missing something if we did that?
No, we have the ability within that policy to select the best bid. So if that's the direction the board gives us, is for us to select the best bid, then that's what we'll do.
Well, maybe that committee could give some input when those come in, so that there's some.
And price doesn't necessarily reflect the best bid. I mean,
No, I understand that. I think best bid is important, and it may be the lowest price. I don't want lowest price to be our only driving factor, I guess.
No, I think if we're gonna go down this, then we want a good study done with real numbers, and make sure that they are coming in close to what we've done research on, as far as what, some of the more recent high voltage underground projects have come in at.
So you feel like we've got some frame of reference to compare?
Yes. Yeah, we've been studying that pretty hard.
Okay, I think that gives us some direction. I do think, though, we have some basic assumptions as we move forward, is that this has to happen, and this is the way it has to happen. So what I want to do is if there's a community that has, thinking out of the box, we're certainly open to that. So anyone who's interested in being on a community advisory board or some kind of a liaison committee, maybe send me an email. How are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Maybe send me an email, and then we can kind of sort through that and get 6 or 8 people that want to, that you feel like you could funnel, communication through, that we could have some working meetings, and just to make it manageable, be able to make sure if there's ideas out of the box we haven't thought of, we want to try and do this right. I was just as horrified as all of you as we drove down, and, we need our power, but we just got to balance all these things out. So anyway. So please, my email is kpotter@ci.heber.ut.us. So let me know who is interested, so we can form that committee and start working together to make sure we're getting information out, as well as you bring information that you want us to hear.
And I'll volunteer to be on that facilities committee.
Yes, we'll get to that in just one second. Okay. All right. So I think we're ready to move on. Is there anything else on that for right now? Okay. We need to go to item number 2 and approve our minutes. For December 13th, we have our financial statements and our 2017 warrants. And if we have a motion or anything from the board, anybody have? Okay, we have a motion to approve the A, B, and C items on number 2. Do we have a second? All right, all in favor?
We'll see.
Any opposed? All right, the motion is unanimous.
Otherwise, we're gonna get nonsense. Just stick around for a few minutes, because maybe some things
I want to
will
thank
back
everyone
around.
for coming to be involved in this.
Yes, thank you so much for
being
coming.
part of the process.
All right, number 3 is the approval of our 2018 board meeting monthly schedule. This is where we need to have a conversation. This meeting, if it goes over an hour and a half, makes it difficult for Jocelyn to get back to her meeting in Midway. And so right now we're scheduled for this fourth Wednesday every month. But we need to talk about if there's a way we can either be earlier or a time that makes it so that she is available to be at the whole meeting.
Is there a reason we couldn't do it at 3?
That works for me.
So the second and fourth Wednesdays will always be tricky because we do a work meeting for our city council. Today our work meeting is about 2. So then, you know, if we can even move it to the first or third Wednesday, that would be helpful. I know, it's such a domino thing when we start moving around. There's so many other meetings. And what is Thursday? Thursday? Do you guys have county council on the second and fourth Thursdays?
No, first Thursday we have SFD meeting. Other than that,
How about,
fourth Thursdays we have MAG and Board of Health.
oh yeah, planning commission.
Yeah, you have planning commission on the second.
Yeah, that's the 2 weeks they meet. So we could meet here. I think we're gonna have a lot of interest for foreseeable future, so I'd like to be able to find it.
So tell me the Thursday conflicts again.
First and fourth, Norlen planning commission.
So you guys have.
Heber City Planning Commission on the second and fourth.
County planning commission on Thursday.
And what's yours? First and third.
And the first and third Wednesday.
And the problem with 3 is what?
I'm good with 3, except like I said, our work meeting is at 10 today, our work meeting ended at 2. So, and that's okay, I can come here in an hour and I can block out my Wednesday, I don't have a problem with that. I can do 3 and we can try, we can end by, you feel like that gives us enough time to end at 5:30? 3, 4, 5.
I think most of the time we were done in time for Mayor Bonner to get there.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, you know, we're doing a project right now that has a lot of community involvement, and that's understandable. But at the same time, you know, if we want to do public hearings and things like that, take a lot of time, that could be just a special meeting.
Yeah, we could take this off of our regular agenda and have a meeting at a
Yes.
different time.
And just the typical just board meeting, getting the packet done, the staff needs to do our jobs. Typically, we can have that done in a couple hours, you know, even with a big agenda.
Let's do that. Let's do 3 o'clock, if that's okay with everybody. Just start.
It's the same, so 3.
Yeah, I think that'll be simpler all around. And then if we see something like that where like we're gonna present on this study, it's gonna take longer, we could set a separate public hearing.
Yeah, that might, you might want public input on something like that when we present those studies, or we have the engineer come in and present the studies, yeah.
Okay.
That works.
All right, so we need a motion to approve our monthly meeting schedule.
Father, I would make the motion that we approve the monthly meeting schedule as posted with the change of time from 4 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the 4th Wednesday of each month, except for December, which is.
All right, thank you, Councilman Crittenden. We have a motion to approve the schedule, and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion is unanimous.
And should we, will the meeting then be at the Heber Power office or at this office? Should we do it here for a while?
What do you guys think?
I'd like to see it there.
You like to see it there?
Works well around the table. I think there's room there for 20 or so people in that side room. There's room for a
20
crowd. Not like tonight, if it's something like this, then move here, but I think on a regular basis, it accommodates staff better to bring the material they need.
Okay. I'm fine with that as long as we're able to accommodate, and it sounds like historically it's worked until this issue came up.
We've had public hearings there that have had a few people, you know, in that back room. There's room there for probably 20, 25 in that side room.
Well, anytime time this is on the agenda, I think we're gonna get a room full of people. But it might be more confusing if we change back and forth, I don't know.
Well, that's my concern, but if we kind of as a group have acknowledged that if we're dealing with the transmission lines, it's probably gonna be a special meeting anyway, then that's gonna come here, and just our standard board meetings will be in. Does that sound reasonable for staff?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, it's gonna be clear that there's gonna be a decision made on the line, on the agenda, or discussion with staff wanting a decision, not saying that we're gonna get one by any means, but, that's on the agenda. For just typical updates, that works. We have a large training room too that we could, set up as a boardroom, and on that night, have board meetings there too. But it doesn't matter to staff too much. The IT functionality and recording and all of that is set up in our current boardroom. And, I know the public does like to watch the video at times and use that system that we've invested quite a bit in.
I'm sure you're all feeling bad you're not on TV tonight. If you're over there, you're on TV.
So are the screens set up so that side room, people could see those screens? I've been there at one meeting, but I didn't pay attention to
I
that.
think the projector screen can be seen from that side of the canopy.
It seemed like it was at the head of the room and the side room was kind of over here, so.
Yeah, we can set up we can address that and set up a video in there as well, so. It's really what the board wants.
I think we'll have to take a vote. Anyone want to make a motion about where we hold our meetings?
I'll move that we have our regular meetings at the Heber facility and special meetings here.
I'll second that vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to have our regular board meetings at the Heber Light and Power boardroom and our special meetings here at the Heber City Council chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I still think we're going to have too many people, but I guess if we do, we can always change.
I was gonna say, we'll try it, and if it doesn't work,
Yeah,
we'll
we can always
change
change.
that motion.
Okay, well, there we go. That's settled. Let's go to number 5, which is the discussion and approval of our board committees. We need to have an audit committee, an HR committee, a facilities capital improvement committee.
And you skipped 4 and 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I checked off the wrong one. Okay, let's talk about our designated interim emergency successors. In our bylaws, it requires all the board members to have an emergency successor if something happens. So we need to identify that person so that staff will know who they would communicate with. Is that right? So,
One for each one.
for each one,
Just so that we know that we have a board of directors. So it could be for you mayors, it could be your interim mayor, and the 2 Heber City Council people, I'm not sure that it matters as much for, as long as the Heber City Mayor will reappoint you.
okay.
You're supposed to each have one there already. I mean, as council people, you're supposed to have selected somebody who could use that same person.
We've never
So
done
the
it
mayor
for
pro
council.
temp, there's a mayor pro temp in Midway, so that would be mine, right?
But there's a specific statute, I can send that to you.
Oh, yeah,
that
'cause we
deals with
haven't done that.
emergency successors, because it's supposed to take into account situation people are dead.
You're not talking about somebody to come to the board meeting tonight because I couldn't come.
Right.
You're talking about a
To
successor.
get in a car accident or,
Well, it's actually an emergency situation, like an earthquake or something.
oh, okay.
So I actually, if you want, I can send you
Okay.
a little quick description and you can fill out.
Okay. Well, for me, it's Jeff Bradshaw. He's our mayor pro temp in Heber
Yeah,
City.
I would assume the county council would be our council chairperson.
The mayor pro tem for Midway is Kendall Crittenden.
I don't have one, I'll have to get back with you.
I think Vaughn was here last time.
I think that's who we'll do is,
Okay.
Von Raskin.
So do you want us to give specific names for the council members, or just leave it open so that
No, they're supposed to have them.
they're supposed to have them? So can they just pick someone? Do they have to have their consent?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they should have, yes, actually. Yes, consent would be there.
Yeah, there we go. Hi, Franco. I picked Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong.
Okay. All right, we don't have to make a motion on that, we just told you, so. All right, let's talk about board orientation. Now, when I was first on this board, we had like a day-long thing, and everyone decided that that was a little bit cumbersome and hard to process everything. So the most important thing is that everyone here feels like they have the information they need to be an effective board member. Staff is open to do whatever we would like. If we want to do some orientation like an hour before our meetings, which that would work. But anyway, what are you guys wanting as far as orientation? We could do an hour here and there ongoing. We could pick a day, and what are you guys thinking that would make you feel guys who have?
I like what Randall Probst has done with the health board. Every meeting, we have an orientation or training piece
As
on
part
the
of your
agenda,
meeting?
part of the meeting, and they train us on different things that we, that we need to be aware of.
I wouldn't have a problem doing that after I had maybe a couple hours worth of some, some really good meaty stuff. I mean, I'm a new kid on the block, so I need some information. I've been reading up as much as I can, and I'm learning a ton, but I think maybe a couple hours somewhere, and if you want to do it prior to the meeting, so like at noon on the Wednesday, I can make sure my work meeting is cut short. But,
Okay.
no, I don't think there's just an idea.
Oh, so maybe what you could do, I guess that maybe the staff could come up with some things they think are important for us to know, and then we could come back with some things that we have questions about, maybe? Think that would work?
Yeah, I mean, if I could make one suggestion, I mean, we could set it up and do like noon workshops, every other Wednesday, and board members could hit it if they wanted, send the invite out. And, if board members come in, they could give us what topics they want to go over. We could have some prepared. We could kind of do it rotating like that. There's a lot of webinars that we could get piped in that really wouldn't be staff teaching you anything, but just what APPA recommends for board members, things like that. That's an idea too, that has worked in the past.
Are those even things that I could watch at home? I mean,
Yeah, and we could get you that type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
As well.
because it's just a-
Yeah.
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 There's those hours between 2 and 4 a.m. that I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I like that idea with the idea of putting something on the agenda, and maybe as I watch those webinars, I'll be able to come up with some questions. Specific, I feel like I'm trying to come up with questions that are active right now, so I need a little exposure first.
Yeah, and we sent out some dates, and calendar kind of hold dates. UAMPS does some pretty good things in their workshops. APPA and NWPPA as well also have some pretty good webinars that will get you some information on. Yeah.
This municipal toolkit thing that they do with the league, is that a
Yeah.
good one for us to go to?
Yeah, if you can set time aside for that, they usually cover some, pretty good public power policy type topics.
Okay, so the question is, do we have a couple hours of in-depth training optional for board members?
Well, maybe it's that with the webinar, maybe that is, you guys have been on the board, I hate to make you subjected to more training if you feel like you got it, but I'll start with webinars and go from there.
Well, let's do that and then see where we go.
I can do that too.
Maybe send us a list of things that you want us to watch.
Can I add one thing? As far as this goes, speaking for staff, anytime you want to spend 2 hours with one of us and find out what I do, or what Jake does, or what Bart does, and spend one-on-one time, that is very beneficial. And we are always open for that. I mean, I love a good webinar as much as anybody does. But, I'm a hands-on guy, but if I spend 2 hours with you, Mayor, we can probably accomplish a lot, and we can cover things from all over the spectrum. And you can kind of understand what we do here. So that's my suggestion.
Great, that's a great suggestion.
We and it's very interactive, and we will open time up to make that work.
Okay.
I did that already with Jason. I went down and spent a couple, 3 hours with him.
And I appreciate Jason reached out to me as well, and I felt like, okay, I need a little more in my belt before I can even approach that. But maybe what I could do is get some appointments set up if anyone else wants to join in on those. I hate for you guys to have to be double the.
Do it at multiple times.
Don't worry about that.
All right.
Okay. Well, let me know, because even though I've been on here, it's like drinking out of a fire hose and speaking another language at the same time, so it's good to keep getting more understanding, so.
Great.
Okay, so that sets us for there. I'm sorry, now let's go to our committees. I suppose what we could do is just have everyone volunteer, and we can just start seeing where we are after everyone says where they would like to be on these committees. Does that sound
How
okay?
many people per committee?
Mayor, I would suggest probably one of the more important ones, not that all of these aren't important, probably one of the more important ones right for the immediate future would be the Facilities Capital Improvement Committee.
Yes.
They will be the ones meeting, and I think that one needs to be represented from a cross-section. So, of course, Mayor Johnson probably from Midway, I'd volunteer representing the council and meet with our staff, and then one of the three Heber people would make the 3 members of that committee. So I would volunteer for that. Mayor Johnson already has.
Okay. Any other comments on that one?
Historically, we kept it 3, otherwise you're public meeting,
Yeah.
so.
So we only want 3 or 2?
3
Three.
meetings.
Okay.
But if, I would advise on the audit committee, if you do not put board member Smith on it, that you would appoint a 4th to bring in Mr. Bradshaw. Because with your audit committee, you really do want financial experts that work in the industry. So,
That's true.
And this, in the past, we've been on at least 2 committees, because you're looking at, I'm not sure what that board committee assignments piece is at the end of it, but it shows 3 committees: audit committee, HR committee, and facilities capital improvement committee. I don't know what that other piece is on the agenda, just a repeat of what we're doing, or is that another committee?
Looks like a typo.
Where are you looking?
Well, it's the last, where it says improvement committee and board committee assignments, which is what we're doing in this whole
Oh, I
discussion.
see. Yeah.
Unless that's a different committee that I opened to you.
It's just those 3 we need to do, right? We have an executive committee too, don't we?
Yeah, the executive committees by default is 3 mayors.
Okay. Okay, so Jeff Smith, are you willing to stay on the audit committee? Okay. Who else wants to be on the audit committee? Jan, good with that stuff?
the last audit committee was comprised of Jeff and the 2 mayors, the mayor and Midway and Charleston.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay.
Really? You want me on an audit committee? I think you like my strong suit.
You can learn.
Oh, I can learn. My husband doesn't think I will ever get a balanced checkbook. So is that important? Because
I don't think it has to be, though, like, if there's someone else that wants to be.
Bart, there might need to be some side training there.
I need to go to that one too.
No, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Okay, HR committee, I'll be on the HR committee.
I can, Mayor, I think I have been, haven't I? So I would continue on that one.
And Jeff. Okay, so then we just need another person on facilities, and it needs to be a Heber person. You want to do that? Okay. We get that? That all those? Okay. Alrighty, let's go to number 7. Barb Miller's going to talk to us about accounting of streetlight write-offs for 2017.
It is the practice previously approved by the board to write off the cost of the electricity ran through the streetlights for all of our customers, okay? Last year, due to the fact that it sets up a crazy liability, the board in the resolution adopted that we could write it off monthly as they happen. And then I just give you an accounting in the January board meeting, the amounts that were written off the entire year. So, last year, we had $129,465.69 for the streetlight electricity that was written off.
Do you have a breakdown of that?
Yeah, Charleston had $3,822. Daniel had $2,262. Heber City had $52,618.19. Midway City had $27,863.50, and the county had $42,900.
Does that include our Christmas trees in Midway now? I shouldn't say Christmas trees, I should say our little trees with lights in them. It doesn't include that one. Okay.
How much was Midway again, please?
$27,863.50.
Thank you.
Sorry, last year, maybe for the board's information, we had discussed a little bit about replacing some of those lights to reduce that cost dramatically. I can't remember what came of that, I know it was really close to the end of the year.
Yeah, so both in Midway and in Heber, we've got some demonstration lights hung on your streets.
And where's the one in Midway? I tried to find it.
It's right outside the town hall.
Where's the Heber one?
It's right outside your town hall, right here on the
Just
corner.
the street right here on the corner?
Yeah, you've got, Heber has two of them, the one on the corner and the one in the middle. One's shaded, one's not. Anyways, take a look at those.
They're LED lights.
They're LEDs, and they are dark sky compliant, and you know, that would substantially save on this write-off. We've been seeing about 60%, 60 to 80% less energy out of those LED streetlights.
Wow. How long does it take them to pay for themselves? At that kind of a right, you know, that's pretty substantial to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough that Heber Light and Power is willing to like start working with your cities to get these things changed out.
And they qualify for dark light even if we don't have the shade on the light bulb?
It's the way that the light itself is built and the interior shading on that LED. So we really tried to match your spec as far as, you know, warmth of glow, but that's the one detriment to the LED. There's just less warmth of glow. So take a look at them. Clearly it's something that if the cities are open to on changing that Main Street lighting, it really is worth it for Heber Light and Power to start, you know, buying new heads and putting new heads on.
So this last piece that the light bulb is in doesn't change, just the light bulb?
The whole head changes. Yeah.
And so there's one of the whole head new things in front of town hall?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's just an FYI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah, I can remember exactly.
All right, thank you. Item number 8, approval of the 2017 fourth quarter distributions to members. Bart?
My duty on this is to inform you that we were profitable last quarter, and therefore there are monies to be paid out in dividends if the board was to do so.
Mayor, looking at this resolution, the fourth whereas talks about company has sufficient distributable income, which Bart says the last quarter. We're looking at the last quarter. We've talked tonight about several studies, the need for studies. I don't think we even have the full list of studies yet that we're going to do. I would be absolutely shocked if that underground study comes in at $15,000. It's been mentioned several times by different that, yeah, we need to do those studies. And so I would make the motion that we do not distribute the income to the shareholders this quarter, and that we hold that. The budget's been set with what we have. These are extra items in the budget, and that we do not distribute those shares this quarter, and that we could use that money to then cover some of these additional costs or extra costs that have come out as a result of this new line. As we vote on this, I would remind you that as you vote, you're voting as members of Heber Light and Power Board, not your various city council members.
How much was that?
What?
Sorry, was there a number in there?
The hell was that?
It's $75,000 a quarter. That's only the three. So that'd give the company $75,000 to work towards those studies.
Is it within the parameters to move the funds in that direction? That's okay?
Yeah, that could be done. Yeah.
If we didn't do that, do we have money in the budget that we could use for these studies?
The line project is a capital project, and so there is a capital budget for that project, and it's a multi-year project, so it may change as adjusting next year's allocation in that capital project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if we had to put more in the capital project to cover this, there would be a smaller distribution next year if we didn't do it.
No, just the cost of that project goes up.
The cost of that capital project next year would reflect, the permitting costs this year. I mean, we're really talking about permitting costs, really, to get these studies done so that we're meeting the requirements of getting conditional use permits. So,
okay, so,
I'll second that motion.
was that a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion on the table to, in lieu of giving the fourth quarter distributions to members, that we would take that money and use it for these studies. And we have a second, so all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so the motion passes 4-2. Okay, let's move to.
Wayne, can I ask you what your concern is for educational purposes?
We've got money in for capital, we could use that instead of using the money for the sheriff.
But I guess the concern is, do we have enough? And to give a distribution when we've got some unexpected, pretty large expenditures coming up, I guess.
Well, the most we say is what we have left over, we can distribute back to the sheriff.
What made me think of this was prior to the meeting with the county planning commission, I was discussing with a member, might have been here tonight, might still be here, I don't. But the misconception out there and the thought from the public that you got this money in your back, do you need it in the company? This person had the perception that it was $1 million a year, or I think he had $1 million every quarter, and I said, no, it's not $1 million. I didn't have the papers with me at the time. I says, it's way, way below that, and once I got home and could look it up, I texted him back and enlightened him on what it really was. But a lot of I think the group that was here tonight would probably express the sentiment. I had others say, do you have money? You've got all these studies, all this stuff coming out. Yeah, we could distribute it out over several years through this capital improvement project, but it'd be nice to have money to pay for those studies. And I guess the motion's already been made and passed, so.
I'm fine, but I just was curious. Thank you. Yes, please.
I appreciate y'all being here tonight. I know a lot of you are against this power line. That's fine. But I see this room and I found out there were about 65 people here. But when I ran and I was elected, there was over 1,200 people voted for persuaded as a government by just those who come and complain. And so I just want you to know that there's a silent majority out there that I do represent.
Public comment? Do we have public comment at any moment? Yeah. We'd love to.
Well, it's not a public hearing, it's just a comment that I have. I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting.
Wayne, and I appreciate that. I've been told that before as well. And, the analogy I have made to folks in this conversation was that, that it's a little bit like saying, we had more people that really wanted candidate A, but candidate B, more people came out and voted, but we're going to give candidate A the office because that's who, really, there's a lot of people that didn't vote, but that's really who they wanted. And, I would encourage those folks with every fiber of my being to become a part of this process because that's sort of how our democratic republic has been built. And we want to represent all voices, but it's difficult to represent a voice that isn't spoken. So at that point, we're making a choice, and I think that that's a difficult thing to do as an elected official. So I understand what you're saying, though, and I want those folks to know I respect their opinion, but I got to hear it. I got to hear from them. That's how I feel.
I think it's always, one second, I think it's always hard to determine what public opinion is as an elected official. And I take it very seriously to try with the people I talk to, and I think Facebook is a legitimate place for people where people express their opinions and emails that I've received and comments, and I would say this is more representative of the public, even the people that aren't here that have real serious concerns about this. And so I wouldn't assume if they're not here that doesn't mean that they like it. And so I guess I have people saying those are great, we like them, so we have to take these concerns and work through it and see where
But
we are.
as we go forward, make the studies and realize through those studies what the actual cost is will be above ground versus below ground. I think that perception might change or whatever. We need to get the information out.
Yes.
Sometimes that public comment based on Facebook or whatnot is not always accurate. Also, the comments been made in several meetings. You put it underground, it'll only be $2 or $3 more a month. I would be willing to pay $2 or $3 more a month. We could probably all stand, but we're not looking at, $2 or $3 per residential. What about $70,000 a month to the school districts, which is one of the biggest consumers? You're going to share the cost of that too. And every other government agency that's using a fair amount of that power. So it's not just a simple $2 a month, it's clear across the whole system, and we all share in the cost of that system. So we gotta, as we determine the cost, we gotta make that information very
And I think
public.
everyone has a tipping point. A lot of people would say, we don't like those lines. Does it cost me $5 more a month? Sure, I still don't like them, but at some number, they're gonna say, fine, whatever. So I think that's what we're trying to do is see what are our options and how much would it cost and what's best for the community. We'll take one public comment who's gonna represent all of you, so hopefully you all share it and we'll give that one comment.
My name is Frank Johnson. I'm a citizen of the Valley. Didn't know we were still talking about item number 1. We should maybe bring everybody that was here to now talk about item number 1 that you have addressed. Number 2, we have assembled a petition that deals with people that live in this valley. These are voices that have not been heard with regards to this project, and we believe that they're valid and important. And your comment, sir, I believe discounts all of those voices. We have mayors that were unseated and replaced because of this issue. This is a big issue for a lot of people, and nobody has been vocal on this issue until now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to get back to number 9, the carbon-free power project. This is going to give us an update on that issue.
This will be quick. UAMPS is the joint action agency we belong to. UAMPS is pushing the carbon-free power project, power sales contracts pretty hard. The power sales contracts are currently under review by staff here. They're wanting to get them in front of our governing bodies, and presentation at a board meeting at some point in time, and I just don't know if the board is willing to do that. So that's kind of where we're at on the carbon-free power project. Power sales contracts are out, they're in front of us, and you know, before we
That's the one in Idaho.
yeah, that's a small modular. So carbon-free power project, I keep forgetting them. Some of you haven't been in board meetings. The carbon-free power project is a small nuclear reactor that they are siting in southeastern Idaho. And it is a 600 megawatt plant. And the technology is currently being reviewed by the Nuclear Regulatory Agency, and UAMPS is meaning UAMPS is, I think I can't remember how many local municipal power companies are a member of UAMPS. There's like 60 or something. And there's probably about 40 of them that are in the carbon-free power project, and they have the 600 megawatts subscribed currently to around 170 megawatts. So still a ways away from full subscription, but they are working diligently to get that subscribed and get this project built. Heber Light and Power is currently in this project for 10 megawatts, but you know, we're not in it for the duration until we sign those power sales contracts. So anyways, they would like to come, get in front of this body and give the presentation on it and explain that power plant a little bit more to the power board.
So, in our regular board meeting, wouldn't it?
It'd be a board meeting, yeah.
Yeah. So the decision before us is whether we want to continue pursuing this option and have them come and present to us so we can decide if we're going to commit to being in the project for.
Yeah, I would rephrase that and just, you know, give us, probably you and I, Madam Chair, direction to put them on an agenda to be in front of the board.
Okay, board, any comments? Any thoughts? Do you want to move ahead?
I'm fine.
I think we should. It was a couple years ago that we heard a little bit about this, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long process with them. They've been coming about once a year, I would think, to give presentations on it.
Okay.
I think the theory behind it is, I'm an accountant, so I'm not an engineer, but it looked really good. I like the idea of very green energy, and it seemed like it wasn't as cheap as non-green, but it was more affordable. Am I right?
Yeah, and we determined our allotment in it, that 10 megawatts, as a pure coal replacement. Meaning, you know, with the assumption that coal plants are coming offline, the coal plants in our portfolio, IPP definitely is. It's getting converted and downgraded almost 1,000 megawatts. So our subscription in IPP will go down considerably, and then the Hunter Power Plant, which is our other coal plant, we're in that for 5 megawatts currently, and you know, it all depends on how much longer they allow that one to keep going as well.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and put that on an agenda. Item number 10, Adam Long is going to talk to us about the discussion and acceptance of a franchise granted by Interlochen.
By way of introduction, I'm Adam Long. I'm an attorney working for the company. I will eventually replace the company's long-standing and long-suffering attorney. What we have in the agenda here is the acceptance of a franchise granted by Interlochen for the benefit of the board members and the public. The franchise is essentially authorization by a municipality or the county to use their public rights of way for our power lines. Because Interlochen is a newly formed municipality, this is really just codifying what's already there. We have similar franchises with Daniel, with Wasatch County, with Independence. So the action request of the board would be simply to accept the franchise and authorize Chairman Potter to sign the letter accepting the franchise.
Do I understand this, prior to their becoming a town, they would have fallen under the same basic franchise agreement that the county has?
Correct.
But once they become a town, now they need their separate franchise agreement.
Exactly. And the terms are effectively identical.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Or does that motion? Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we accept the Interlaken Town ordinance number 7.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion to accept that franchise granted by Interlochen Town. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 11, thank you, Adam, is the discussion and decision to include the smart thermostat in the company's rebate program.
Okay, currently, Heber Power does energy rebates through UAMPS, the Smart Energy Program. Oh yes, I'm Jared Wright. I run the program, the energy, yeah, thank you. So anyway, yeah, so we currently have that run through UAMPS, Smart Energy Program. What we're proposing is adding smart thermostats to the list of products that we offer an incentive for. Just a little background quickly, I did a little research. According to the Department of Energy, heating savings from having a smart thermostat can be up to 10%. Cooling savings even more, up to 15%. What the Smart Energy Program through AMPS offers right now is a $50 rebate. That is similar to what Rocky Mountain Power does. In fact, it is Rocky Mountain Power's program that UAMPS follows. But also, Dominion Energy also offers a $50 rebate. As I've studied this through, given that the cooling savings are up to 15% for the customers, I did some simple math, just using some averages of what it would take for the company to recoup the cost of offering that rebate. It's between 6 and 7 years, which is pretty good on 15% savings in just 3 months out of the year for cooling. So my recommendation is that we offer that to our customers. I know that there's some concerns over so-called double dipping, that Dominion Energy also offers a rebate. What I would say to that is there is a list of thermostats that are approved. Every one of those is in excess of $225 to purchase. So even if the customer got that $100, that still only covers a portion of the cost of that thermostat.
Sorry, could you say again who the other organization is?
Dominion Energy, Questar, gas,
okay.
sorry, yes.
How big is their rebate?
It is also $50.
$50.
So does it matter if they double dip? I mean, it's not $100 from us, it's 50 from
No, it's
Questar,
50 from each.
Okay,
Correct.
sorry, go ahead.
So, yeah, so that's my recommendation, is that we do it. The program is already there with UAMPS. It would just be a matter of having them add us to the list. The applications are already there. So that's the easiest way. May not be the best. If we want to look at other avenues, we can do that. Because UAMPS will tailor it to what we want it to be. So if there are concerns that we don't want to do a full 50, we can do a lesser amount, whatever that may be.
Does this program involve any additional staff time? Are there any expenses that way?
Very little. Most of that is handled through UAMPS. The application and everything is sent to them, they process it, they cut the check. So like I say, that's the easiest, least expensive way as far as administering it.
goes. Very little contact, and it will only be with me, it's a few minutes.
Most of the time, it's directing them on a phone call to go to the UN's website.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, board? I'm not seeing any downside. Is there something I need to know?
The way I see it, it's a win-win. It helps the company, and it's great for the customer.
Do we need a motion, or we're just gonna kind of tell them, yeah, go for it?
No, we generally put these in with a motion from the board. These things can get pretty expensive.
It can get expensive because we're giving out 4,000 people have bought thermostats that are gonna save us energy, and we've got to give them each $50.
Yeah. Well, I just want board approval for it, I guess.
No,
'cause,
I understand, but I just want to make sure I'm.
It's a good, energy efficiency is, we have capacity issues that we've already talked about on this system, so the more we can save, the better we are.
And you're saying 6 to 7 years to,
That's the payback, simple payback.
all right, we have a motion, board.
I'll make a motion to, let's see, where we can include the smart thermostat in the company's rebate program.
All right, we have a motion on the table for including the smart thermostat in the rebate program. Do we have a second? And a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Number 12 is the approval of Resolution 2018-02, authorizing the general manager to execute and deliver the contract between the company and WAPA for the firm electric power. What's WAPA?
Western Area Power Authority.
Western what?
Western Area Power Authority.
Okay. Western Area Power Authority for firm electric power.
Yeah. So for about the last year, we've been trying, or WAPA has led the initiative to get the contracts for firm electric service for all of their customers. And just so everybody knows, Western Area Power Agency is the marketer for all of the federal hydro on the system in the west here. So this is the energy we get out of Glen Canyon Dam, Flaming Gorge Dam, the big federal hydro projects. And we've been a WAPA customer for a long time, and the 1992 contracts don't expire till 2024, but Western Area Power wants to make sure they're ahead of the curve here and get the 2024 to 2057 contracts approved, and know that all of their federal power is subscribed through 2057.
So what does that mean, firm?
That means that there is a portion of it that is firm delivery, meaning if it's generated, it gets delivered to us.
Okay.
And we pay that, correct?
And we pay that, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Does it seem weird that they want a contract 7 years in advance?
no,
That's standard.
that's standard in our industry to do that real far out planning. Like I mentioned the IPP project that kind of went through last year. That one doesn't expire till 2027, but we have renewed that one, I think, in 2017. So there's a lot of very, you think about these things a lot.
Okay.
So a lot of forward planning on these power projects.
Is there any incentive to go that far in advance, or it's just an industry standard to do that?
I think the industry is just kind of that way. I don't know if it's standard, might be a little too hard a word, but the industry is just that way. We plan forward a lot. So, we run a lot of data numbers, and even our little company plans forward a lot. So we're looking at what resource needs are going to be in 2030, 2040, 2050, because now's when you buy them. So now's when you build the plants to do it. So, because sometimes it takes 15 to 20 years to build these plants. So we really have to think forward.
That's what Jason's talking about. They want to know that they're fully subscribed to a certain amount as they look at forward infrastructure replacement. Just like we talked a few minutes ago about the carbon-free power. That's going to cost some money because they want to know if we build this very, very expensive plant, we can have subscribers for that power.
And if we wait, there's no last minute discounts, we're gonna end up paying a lot more money for power, right? No
Yeah.
flyer, last minute
So-
airline ticket.
So the Western Area Power through the Colorado River Storage Project. So the first document that you received in your packet is the contract for firm electric service, meaning this is the contract that explains the all available hydropower out of the Colorado River Storage Project in which we are a customer. And it hasn't changed that much. There's been some updating of the language itself. Staff has fully reviewed this. Joe and I and Emily have all fully reviewed these documents. There has been some slight modifications, just updating language to current terms, current ways that you write contracts, I guess. But for the most part, it is the same deal. Well, we get the same amount of energy. Our contracted rate of delivery hasn't changed, and our hydropower allocation hasn't changed. The rate hasn't changed. The rate is a different contract, and I'll get into that. Exhibit A for this contract. Is there any questions on this one that I can?
I'm making a list, but we'll talk later.
Okay. So, anyways, this contract is basically the same one we've been in for a couple decades. Exhibit A of that contract, points of delivery, voltage, and delivery obligation is also not any different than our current Exhibit A in our contracts that we're currently getting energy from. And then the rate piece, the rate history. So if you go to this page right here, you can see that over the course of time, the rates for this energy have gone up, but it's still at less than 3 cents kilowatt hour and the cheapest power in our portfolio. So the next page is the general power contract provisions. These are the rules that this company needs to abide by in order to receive the power. This hasn't changed since the last contract. We still have 24-hour dispatch. We still have a person that's in charge of all scheduling. That's Emily Grant. And we meet all of these qualifications. This is a Western Area Power customer. So the next page, the creditworthiness procedures for WAPA federal power customers. This is different, and what they've done is they've just strengthened with this document the language on how they can collect if somebody chooses not to pay their power bill. So, attachment 1 in this packet of papers is the rules for scheduling Western replacement power. So in a dry year like this year, we won't get as much hydropower. And so Western gives us the ability to replace it with market power and still be able to use all of the capacity on the all-federal system. So with that, we do schedule a lot of Western replacement power. We always fill the Western pipe, basically, because it's some of the cheapest power that's available out there is the power from the federal government. So Emily really kind of manages these contracts, but she always has Western replacement power scheduled to make sure we're filling up that transmission capacity. And then the very last document, the one that says Department of Energy, and you can see the acronym CREDA involved in this one, or the Colorado River Energy Distributors Association. They attach this just because CREDA has the ability to question Western Area Power on all of these documents, and we are a member of CREDA through UAMS. And so Ms. Leslie James of CREDA really does a good job of bird dogging and making sure all of the Western Area Power customers are being represented according to these contracts. So that's, you know, a quick synopsis of a whole lot of reading, but I'm happy to get with any one of you individually if we want to talk about this some more.
Gotta go.
Okay.
That was fascinating.
All right, do we have a motion? We need to make a motion on this because we're approving it here.
Yeah, if the board wants to approve the resolution, then that's fine. If you want more time, we can bring this back to the February meeting too. So it's up to the board.
I asked Jason on this, I looked at this, and I looked at in the packet we got, that's a lot of pages to go through. He didn't have it printed, and he, you know, 1 month won't kill it. I'm pretty secure on, after the explanation I got yesterday and again today, additional information. I'm pretty secure with it, but if the board wants time to look through these, something to put you to sleep at night or wake you up or whatever.
Anybody want to wait, or you'd like to ready to make a motion?
That said then, Mayor, I would make a motion that we approve resolution 2018-02, authorizing general manager to execute and deliver contract between the company and the law firm for firm electric power.
All right, we have a motion to approve resolution 21802. Do we have a second? And a second, all in favor? Aye. All right, it's unanimous, so number 12 is approved. And I think we'll continue, even without Mayor Johnson here, not huge issues here. Approval for changing company's mobile carrier from Verizon to AT&T. Jake, yourself.
We're a Verizon customer with all of our cell phones, Wi-Fi devices, backup internet, stuff like these things. We were out looking for a replacement. We didn't think anything was going past, and it just didn't work out for us. So we were approached by a guy with AT&T who is in charge of what they call FirstNet solution. He brought that to us, and I'll kind of explain that to you, and wanted us to take a look at it. And so we did, and FirstNet, I'll go over it quickly. What FirstNet is a government authority established because of 9/11 and the things that transpired when the communication system went down, when all the towers were falling and all the chaos was going on. First responders went in to communicate, and all the systems were up, and nobody could get a phone call out. So the federal government came up with this FirstNet solution, and it's a separate entity from AT&T, and then they went out to bid for a wireless provider to implement the system rather than going out and trying to build a network nationwide. So AT&T was a successful bidder on that, and it's a 25-year contract, and over the life of that contract, AT&T is going to spend $40 billion on this FirstNet solution. It uses a 20 megahertz spectrum band 14, rides on the same network as what AT&T has now, but it's on a different bandwidth. And what it does essentially is it enables first responders, emergency services, municipals fall into that, but allows them to have first priority on a wireless network happening around the world. And that's why they brought it up. So we took a look at that, and we kind of like what they were looking at. We've had some issues with what they showed us. We had some issues with services in the valley, so we decided to test their product again. So we got a couple of phones and a Wi-Fi. We went around the valley, tested, and we did have better service than we had previous 10 years ago with AT&T in areas where Verizon was supporting as well. And there is areas with issues, Timberlake, Snake Creek, but that's just the nature of the valley. But one thing that we look forward to is they will be spending money on their network. Now, Governor Herbert had to agree to this. Each state has to agree to this, allow this FirstNet solution into the state, and he agreed to that on November 6, 2017, allowing AT&T. So anyway, we can go through quick.
So what are they, did they make decisions?
No, no.